So hi, I'm Ehi Okoruwa and I'm a sophomore. I'm running for Vice President of Public Relations on the Bold Slate. And why I even got interested in the position in the first place was because as a freshman, incoming freshman, I did the Leading WashU style Prio. And so I got in and got really excited about student union. During the Prio, I learned everything there was to know about it, what the different branches entail, how to get involved very early, starting with a committee, which is how I started. And then I was really excited about student union, and I got to the campus and realized that sort of excitement and that understanding of what the student government does wasn't really present among the student body, and it really bothered me. I've heard comments that student union doesn't really care about the constituents, like I don't know what they do. They've kind of lost the relationship that used to be there, and so I saw myself as being able to restore that relationship, and the biggest way to do that is by really making the campus knowledgeable about what student union does. And my plans for that are to first make the PR committee a more effective resource to student groups and the student body, make the link a bigger part of the WashU community, which is also a big resource to student groups, and finally to just actively advertise the different facets of student union, how to get involved in new and creative ways. So that is why I'm running.
So you mentioned that you would like to more actively advertise, right?
Yes.
So by what channels would you actively advertise through specifically?
I definitely want to go beyond flyering because that seems to be the big thing. And one of the things we've discussed is transforming one of the walls in the duck to be an interactive calendar where students can come up, see what's happening not only for the week but for the month. It'll be like a Velcro style. And having that sort of thing not only in the duck but in places like Ursa's and Whispers, places where students go. Other things is really advertising the different parts of student union, like for Treasury. The way to do that would be hang up the remaining money in the appeals account in the duck, so you can flip it before, if you're a student group, you can know right away what's going on before you walk into a Treasury meeting. Advertising how to get Senate to write a resolution concerning what you're working on, how to get involved in student union by starting with a committee, how to do initiatives. One of the things that I think could be effective are workshops, especially during the first few weeks of school when students really have that passion and are coming in and saying, I see this campus, I want to start this, and they'll be able to know right away how to apply for student union group recognition, how to go to Senate, how to file a grievance or things like that. So workshops would definitely be another way.
You say in your paragraph on the website that strong relationships with students is your foremost priority. Obviously that's a great thing, but beyond advertising, beyond sort of the impersonal ways in which the student union can get in touch with students, how are you going to make personal connections with the student body? It's so large and you're only one person.
I think really doing that is going to where the students are. One of the things we really want to do is host our office hours, not just in the duck, not in this big cubicle in the office, sitting in Whispers late at night and saying, hey, I'm your VP of PR, come talk to me about what's going on. Making it so that students feel comfortable approaching you, and so it's not this sort of, you're in office and you don't even care about me sort of thing. Another thing is really using the PR committee. I want to reach out to different students, like going to the engineering school, the art school, the business school, and actively recruiting students and saying, let's take your strengths and put them on the PR committee so you can also help groups. Then students can come to the PR committee saying, I have an idea for this event. Can you work with me to, help me advertise it? And it won't just be me saying, well, I think you should do this. It's students from all different aspects of campus that know what works, like how to advertise for a speaker is different than advertising for a performance, and they'll have that knowledge and we can work together.
What do you think has been the biggest weakness of SC this year, and how do you propose to address it?
I think the biggest weakness has definitely been a lack of communication. I feel like students, they might read something in stud life, but then they don't follow up. And so it's kind of like, well, I heard this, and I bet this happened, and things like that. And I think that student union itself hasn't really actively gone out and said, here's the problems we're having. A lot of people resigned, people read about that, but student union didn't say, here are the reasons for them resigning, here's what's going to happen, here's how we're going to move forward and keep being a strong student government. There just wasn't communication both ways. And so I think that sometimes it's maybe that we're scared to look human and we forget that we're students too, and we just need to, go out and, show all our different faces rather than trying to keep this composed, oh, we're fine, we never, feel hurt, we never feel any emotion sort of thing.
There's been talk, especially this recent election, about major substantive changes being made to both the SU Constitution and just the way it runs itself. Do you view the problems that SU's been having, as you perceive them, to be at all to do with the basic fundamentals of how SU is constructed, or do you just think it's a lack of communication?
I think that lots of it is a lack of communication, not only with the student body, but within itself. I wouldn't say that we need to drastically change the structure, but we need to change how SU reps relate to each other. So I'm on Treasury, and I know that even though the speaker says, go to a Senate meeting, know what Senate is doing, not many people do. So there's this lack of communication, lack of understanding of what each person does. Or we see con council at the back of our meetings, and we don't make a point to say, okay, what exactly is con council? What are they involved in? And I think it's kind of like a us against them mentality, rather than a sort of let's work together for the common good of the student body. And one thing that I know Mike really wants to, and Nate really want to work on, is making a strategic plan for student union, where we bring every branch together and say, what is our vision for student union? How do we accomplish that? Rather than everyone kind of doing their own thing and not working together.
PR budget was cut last year. Do you
Yes.
see it needing to be increased to achieve what you want to achieve?
The PR budget last year I know was cut for bearings. It used to be printed and now it's online. And I feel like that's completely okay. It can still be online. And I don't think you need to add to the budget. I think you need to think creatively on, I guess, what to change in terms of advertising. You don't need to use flyers all the time. You can build a structure. You can use interactive wall or something like that. And one thing I really want to do is, if I were to get to the position, were to research what other universities do in terms of creative advertising and make up a list of saying, these are the things we could try on campus. I went around campus and looked at places in front of the Duck, there's a huge map of the Danforth campus on one side of a glass display case, but there's nothing on the other side. Let's use that to actively, for student groups to put their posters in and things like that. I went around and downstairs Gargoyle, there's a bunch of glass display cases that aren't used anymore. And those types of things could be utilized. I think that really, especially having a strong PR committee of people who are kind of thinking beyond just underpass and flyering will really help in that, and showing new innovative ways to do public relations rather than just printing bearings.